Well, hello, everyone. You're listening and watching Rashkin Report, and I'm your host, Yuri Rashkin. I'm very glad that you're here with us. This is a conversation about the topic really that is being discussed everywhere, it seems, by everybody. And that's probably the best thing I can say about it. The rest of it is not so good. Um, Ukraine and war of aggression of Russia against Ukraine is the topic of our conversation. More specifically, what can be done to help Ukraine? What can we do? What can our governments do? And I am glad to be joined for this conversation by Pavel Gintov, a musician, pianist, and an influencer of sorts, so somebody who's been keeping people informed about what's going on. Pavel, welcome to the program. It's very glad you were able to make it here today. Thank you.
Hi, it's my pleasure. Thanks for inviting me.
Well, first of all, I guess latest news is Russia announces that there is going to be like 1,000 mercenaries that they're going to send into Ukraine, which is kind of an odd news. But in addition, they are talking about carpet bombings because NATO announced that they will not be making that they're not going to be defending the Ukraine skies. Is Ukraine still has Air Force too, though, right? I mean, this is can you explain a little bit what's going on here?
Oh, well, I'm not a specialist in air defense, and as I understand, Ukraine's air defense is not so great, and Air Force is not very numerous. We are outgunned in this sense, and I think we do need help. And really, it's hard for me to tell what is the right thing to do for the NATO, for the United States, but there should be some kind of way to maybe give Russia an ultimatum that, at some point they'll start shooting down their planes and their missiles, because Russia right now seems like they're quite frustrated with their invasion not going quite the way they planned it, and they are just bombing anything. They shell residential areas, hospitals, schools. Maternity hospital in Zhytomyr has been bombed. Well, yesterday we all watched this completely insane thing at the nuclear power plant. So something has to be done to stop them, because yes, Ukraine is standing strong and Ukraine is fighting back, but we do need help. We are outgunned in the air.
And this is where I should probably make a very important disclaimer, which is that neither one of us is in either Russia or in Ukraine. Both of us in the United States. I'm in Wisconsin, and Pavel is in New York, New Jersey area. And you there is this kind of a line of thinking that if we are shooting down Russian planes, then are we at war with Russia? And what does that mean? How do you
Yeah,
respond to that?
that's what I heard. That's what the American, the Biden administration has been saying so far. Well, again, I'm not an expert in that. I don't know how things work. I just see that what's going on right now is not right, right? Like, the United Nations has been created after World War II to prevent this sort of conflicts, and it's not working. And looks like the international law is not working. And if you are a strong power with nuclear weapons, you're allowed to do things that other powers are not allowed to do. And we keep saying never again every year, and we honor the memorials of wars and all the victims. But then right now it looks like we should be saying never again only for those who have nuclear weapons, because other countries, sorry, but maybe we can just sacrifice you and watch you being slaughtered to prevent another big war. So something is quite wrong in here, in my opinion. Again, I don't know what the solution is exactly. I know that Russia always found ways to to commit crimes and atrocities and pretend like they're not committing it, like sending troops and saying that's not our troops, or staging those referendums and saying that's a democratic vote of people. I really don't see why sometimes other powers can do same thing. Like, for example, sending pilots to Ukraine and saying, "Oh, they're not American pilots, or they're not NATO pilots; they are Ukrainian pilots." I don't know. Maybe don't get me wrong. I don't like lies, and I don't like this kind of behavior. But it looks like again, if we take word to word what the Biden administration is saying, what the NATO is saying, that they are trying to play chess with someone who is basically just throwing things around and smashing and destroying everything. So I don't think that's how you can stop an insane maniac like Putin. And I think there should be another way to help Ukraine and to protect our sky.
Now, one of the things that we're trying to prevent is a big war between Russia and the United States and NATO. But we have already at least volunteers fighting over there. Putin already seems to think that he's fighting us anyway. I mean, that's what he's telling his people. So are we, like, maybe we are at war? Are we at war? What's going on? How do we make that distinction now?
Well, I do think that Russia is at war pretty much with the whole world, and they have been with the free world for a long time, and they were trying to undermine democracies and elections. I don't have to give you the details of that, right? But they've been doing all this evil and malicious things all over the world, and the world is kind of responding very slowly, in my opinion, and pretending that nothing is really happening. And well, I mean, they've crossed already so many lines, and it looks to me that they're trying to see how far they can go, basically, right? We remember the well, first of all, of course, Chechnya, where they leveled the cities and completely demolished them, and it was inside of Russia's borders, so the world sort of kept silent about that. And then they attacked Georgia in 2008 and had their war against Georgia, and occupied some territories, but didn't quite annex them. So again, pushed a little further, right? Now next was Crimea, then they did annex other nations' sovereign territory. And again, the world was like, okay, maybe some sanctions will do it. Will not recognize this annexation, but still was very, very polite and nice. We don't want war, right? So they keep pushing, and now it seems like they're completely unhinged, and they just already went way too far, and they think everything, like they're allowed to do everything, and no one will stand to them. So, well, I see that the whole world right now sort of is waking up, and you see enormous support of regular people all over the world for Ukraine. But that's not enough. We need support of the government. We need military support, and I don't know if that's gonna happen.
Well, we have a terrible situation. We have a conflict, and we have really this whole big question of Russia, because this is Russia that's doing this. This is Russia, Russia, Russia. And we have a lot of Russian artists. We have Russian culture, Russian everything. I mean, Russia is part of this world, and now we're looking at like cutting these threads. And I think somewhere I saw that Dostoevsky was not going to be discussed or something like that because he was Russian. How far should this go?
Well, first of all, that's not new, right? We've seen this in history during World Wars, during World War One. There were German conductors in America who were even imprisoned at some point. And I remember that in city of Pittsburgh, let's say, they decided not to play any German music at all while the war is going on. And well, I mean, that's somebody's personal decision. In my opinion, I don't see what let's say Beethoven has to do with German aggression in either First or Second World War, or what Dostoevsky has to do with current situation in Ukraine. But I see that if something is connected to the Russian state right now, it probably should be cut off, because uh, like right now we have this conversation in music world. I'm a musician, as you mentioned, right? And there are international music competitions, and one competition in Dublin banned all Russian contestants. They just sent an email saying, sorry, you cannot come anymore, right? And the other competition, the Van Cliburn competition, a big one in America, they said that no, we are not going to ban anyone because it's music, it's art, it should be open for everyone. So here's a sort of a dilemma: which one is right? And I see a lot of outrage among musicians, not only Russian, but all musicians, who say, what those musicians have to do with the war? They're not bombing Ukraine. They were practicing for so long,
and they had no control over this, so they can't influence Putin.
Exactly. They can't influence Putin. They have no control of this. Why do they have to be punished? And I was thinking about it, and I think that they probably should not be punished, but they should not be representing Russia. Like, the Russian flag should not be displayed, let's say, that's on a stage, and it should not say that if they get a prize, that they represent Russia, just how it is in sports or in other fields. We see that too, right? Because again, currently, well, I'm Ukrainian, right? When I see Russian flag, to me it's like seeing swastika these days. I don't want to see that. That's a flag of aggression, flag of war crimes, flag of unspeakable behavior, something that I couldn't imagine, even though this whole situation is been going on for years now, for 8 years, but still I could never imagine seeing Kiev or Kharkiv being bombed and leveled, and bombs falling civilians and all that. That's unimaginable. So for me right now, really, flag of Russia, I don't think should be displayed anywhere. And if someone says I represent Russia, to me it sounds like someone in the 40s saying I represent Nazi Germany. So in this aspect, I think yes, this should not be allowed. But if somehow they can distance themselves and say I just represent myself, and if the competition does not display their flag, then maybe they should be allowed to participate. So I think there can be some
Is this like
that
situation where I think in during World War II, people were expected to say Hitler kaput, and maybe in this instance, are we saying like Putin huilo? And thus kind of clearly stating our opinion, Putin huilo is not a good thing. So do you think that Russia is going to end up being like South Africa was during apartheid?
I really don't know. I see that Russia, I don't see any other option for Russia right now. Russia is going to lose, and lose big time, I think, because, well, you see what's happening, right? It's been cut off from everything. I don't understand their logic.
It's really sounds like just a catastrophe of what is developing there, and people have a very vague idea of what is happening, and it's just going to collapse in a matter of days as once they I think Putin's buddies are done selling the remaining gold. This whole thing is just going to shudder.
Yeah, and I really can't explain any logic behind it. That's why I'm saying I feel like it's all decisions made by one unhinged individual who is out of his mind. And unfortunately, it seems like there's nobody who is brave enough to stand up to him. Like, I see him talking to his generals. You've seen this meeting with this head of intelligence who is mumbling like a little boy, and Putin is telling him, no, speak louder, I want to hear your opinion, be direct, right? And it's like, this is humiliating. Those are big generals. They have a lot of power, and none of them can say anything. They're so scared of him. Like, seriously, he's not even he's like a joke. He's a nobody. He's completely untalented, uncharismatic, really kind of disgusting human being. Why are those generals so scared of him? Like that really mind-boggling. I don't know what's wrong with that.
Now, Senator Lindsey Graham, just a few hours ago, earlier today, whatever, said that people of Russia, he called on people of Russia to assassinate Putin. And then he got into all sorts of trouble for this because we don't do those kinds of things. And I got confused about what are the kinds of things we don't do, because he was not calling on us to do this. He was saying that people of Russia should do this. I mean, okay, that sounds like generally inflammatory statement, but anyway, how do you see this?
I don't know. Senator Graham is not someone I trust, and he's been
Right,
saying
exactly.
contradictory things the whole time. So I guess right now maybe he thinks it's something that will help him gain some votes, or I don't really know.
Right, but it tells me that he thinks that's what the right, that's the smart thing to say right now. It's fantastic. I mean, isn't that great how Putin really like brought Republicans and Democrats together in such a big way? I mean, we're just, competing with each other of who's going to kick him harder. It puts a smile on my face. Yeah. Back to the humanitarian crisis in Ukraine and impending one in Russia. What are you hearing what are you hearing from Ukraine? What are some of the stories? And just say something about that, please.
Well, I heard the numbers that almost 1 million people have left Ukraine since this whole disaster began, and that's 1 million people. It's like 2% of our population. That's this unimaginable number. It is a catastrophe, and I know that some people that I know tried to get out of the country for several days. They didn't quite know what to do, where to go, and they were in the end spent hours and hours, like I think 16 hours on the border with Poland, and I'm not 100% sure if they managed to cross it, but last time I heard from them they were about to cross it. But apparently it's huge lines of cars waiting there for hours every single day to try to cross into Poland and then maybe get somewhere else. It is a disaster, but I also I see that there are lots of people trying to help those refugees and offering housing, offering help in different countries, in Europe, in Poland, in Estonia, in Latvia, Lithuania, Romania. I even heard from got a message from someone from Ireland saying that if you know someone, who needs a house, my house is their house, please let them know that. But Ireland is a little bit far, I think. I don't know. The situation is really bad, I think, and what can I say? This is heartbreaking.
It is, and the people are going to be, the number that I heard is that out of 3 refugees, 1 comes back. So you have just a huge, really resettlement project that's underway right now, and where these people are going to end up, and they're going to be in, generally, in my opinion, immigrants are a good addition to communities because they're the ones who are trying to make better of themselves. That's why they moved in the first place. They're trying to get somewhere. And Ukrainians are, wonderful. So this is like a bonus to all these other countries, but this is this making it feel like this is a problem for everybody, this Russian invasion? Because even though the battlefield right now is in Ukraine, it is already affecting people in Europe with refugees and fears of nuclear disaster, for crying out loud. I mean, to me, that the potential disaster at Zaporozhye nuclear station is something that would really be a good reason for other countries to get involved.
Of course, and Ukraine has 15 those nuclear reactors, those stations, and This one in Zaporizhia is the biggest one in Europe, and as the officials said, if something happened to that one, it would be like at least six times worse than Chernobyl. So I can't believe, though, someone would try to target a nuclear power plant and shell it from the artillery or from tanks that they were doing yesterday. Like, you got to be completely out of your mind to do that. And I mean, if something happened, those Russian soldiers, they would be the first casualties of this whole thing, right? Like, do they even understand what they're doing? Okay, they have this crazy commander-in-chief who is completely insane, right? But are they all commanders are like that? All generals or officers, everyone? Like, they don't understand anything they're doing? What I don't really understand who we're dealing with. Are these even people with brain, educated people? Like, what in the world are they doing? How can you shell a nuclear power plant? So that's I don't get it.
Okay, we have a comment here. Now KGB Putin wants to play a tough combination with Chechens, make a bad effect in hands of Chechens. Chechen fighters have a reputation. They're being sent in. They've been killed, quite a few of them, but nonetheless, they're known for their brutality. From Chechen wars and just general reputation of Chechens. How do you see them being used really as people, as a kind of a threat, and in this war?
Well, I know some other Chechens who were fighting for the independence back in early 2000s, and for them, these Putin's mercenaries are traitors and just like the worst type of people possible, right? So I wouldn't generalize so much, just calling them Chechens. They are some kind of dogs, puppies who Putin uses to scare other people. I'm not sure how good they are as military force, because there were reports of a whole bunch of them being completely just destroyed, including their commander a few days ago near Kiev, I believe. So I don't know. I feel like it's more like some kind of myth to to create more fear. But if are they really anything to reckon with? I'm not sure.
Another comment. Ukraine is like Sparta. I hope, unlike 300 Spartans, Ukrainian fighters will survive. Glory to Ukraine.
Glory to the heroes. So,
Right.
well, I think everyone is quite amazed right now, right? When we were listening to all these warnings from the from the U.S. intelligence, from the White House, they were saying how they think that Kiev will fall within 48 hours or 72 hours, right? Now it's been almost 10 days already, and Ukraine stands strong, and Ukraine fights back, and Russia is taking heavy losses. And there are so many videos of those prisoners of war who are completely demoralized, who are scared, and there's so much of this armor destroyed right now, so many tanks burning and planes shooting down from the sky. I think everyone is astonished with how well Ukrainian army fights back. Uh, but again, as I said, we are outnumbered and outgunned, and we need help, and especially in the air. Those missiles, those air attacks, they're terrible, and they kill lots of civilians and create disaster. And something has to be done to protect them.
Vladimir writes, the only way to win this war is if people of Russia speak up and go out to the streets. And if people from other former Soviet republics will do the same, we can end this Soviet atavism.
No, I'm pretty sure. I don't know if it's the only way. Honestly, I don't quite believe in this kind of plot, right? But I'm sure if people of Russia spoke, not only right now, but during the past 20 years or so, nothing like this would be happening. It's all happens with silent, with the silence of the majority of people. Russia is a huge country, and has all the resources, and it's really hard to believe that people are just being silent when crimes are committed in their name. And in 2014, when they did annex Crimea and started the war in Donbass, it looked like even those Russians who usually spoke against the government all of a sudden said, "Okay, now we support Putin because that's what we actually like." And Putin's rating, if you believe to those ratings, were skyrocketing when that happened, right? Which is again very hard to understand because I imagine myself if in my name, my government was attacking other country and trying to steal their land and kill their people, I would not support that ever in my life. But that's what we saw, and there is very little hope that people of Russia will rise up or say anything. They can also probably rise up if they have nothing to eat, or if they're completely cut off from the whole world, and they can't play their computer games, and they can't watch their movies, and they can listen to their music. Maybe then we'll see some kind of uprising. I don't know, but not because they're killing innocent people in Ukraine, unfortunately.
Yeah, maybe they will. I'm looking, it's on a slightly different note. I'm reading the comments here, and I'm reminded of so many viewers and listeners of this channel don't speak English, and they live in Russia and in Ukraine. And I think that we're doing our best to get their story out with this conversation and others in English. But many of the commenters are Russian speakers, and some of them, some of our regular commenters have not been seen in our chat room here online in a few days since the conflict started. And I'm thinking of one in particular, who was making a lot of, like, very smart person, writing very smart things. And, you kind of go, wow, he's great. Bogdan is watching us, we're doing, things are going like they're supposed to. And he's not there anymore. And I don't know what happened to him. And that's, and that's something that is kind of like, I guess, my personal experience with what happened in the last 7 days. Do you think that Russia and Ukraine will ever be able to be friends again?
Yeah, I don't think we should talk about that right now. When you see all this, like what's happening these days, these pictures from, I was watching. I'm from Kiev, right? So I was watching, the TV tower being hit, and then
let me rephrase my
Holocaust.
question. Let me rephrase my question then. Do you see distinction between Russian people, Russian army, and Putin, or do you see it as all one right now?
Well, so if you ask me, if I meet someone who I know is from Russia, I need to know their stance. Okay, if I don't know their stance, I can't really talk to them, basically. So sometimes it happens when I get introduced to somebody and they know I'm from Ukraine, and right away they say, "Oh, we are against that. We are so sorry for what this government is doing. It's horrible." And then we can talk, and we can have some kind of relations. But if they're silent, they don't say anything at all, then I don't know how to talk to them. Then I will pretend they don't really exist, because well, they're just how it is to me right now.
Okay. What do you think about this end of money that Russia is experiencing? They're used to spending a lot of money on propaganda. Now they're not going to be able to do that because there's just not going to be any money. There's not going to be, I don't think, there's really not going to be any paid trolls. There's not going to be Russia Today. RT is laying off people and shutting down. They're being banned, but they're also just running out of money, I'm pretty sure. And there's going to be, it's going to have a certain impact. And so the propaganda is not going to be around as much. Is that a good, like a silver lining to this in some way?
I'm sure there will be plenty of paid trolls, so they will not go anywhere. You know, maybe regular Russians can't use Facebook or whatever, but those guys who work for that research institute, right, so that sneaky facility in Leningrad Oblast, they will still be here, and you will see them every single day, and you will meet them every day, and you will read their comments. You know, they are quite smart in how they're using this. They weaponize free speech. They weaponize the the very democracy, right? And they will keep doing it till the end. That was a very successful weapon for them so far, and I'm sure it will remain there. But of course, now they are losing a lot of money. They also are losing a lot of money because of this war, right? So I'm sure that some of the money that they're not going to be paying for their RT or other propaganda in America or around the world will have to go towards the war effort, right? Probably not enough for that, but still they will find somewhere to put it. I'm pretty confident.
All right. Well, Pavel, then last question. What is your rate? How do you respond to the reaction that you're experiencing from people around you? How are you're seeing how Americans around you are responding to the war in Ukraine? How does that make you feel?
Well, support was really overwhelming. People contacted me, even people who I haven't spoken years, and not only to say something nice to me, but to ask me a very specific questions, like give us the websites or the address where we can mail our checks. How can we help? Where can we donate money? And that's really I appreciate it so much. It means the world to me. And people who have nothing to do with Ukraine whatsoever, people who have nothing to do with Russia, uh, just some parents of my students who I haven't who I taught years ago, some of my colleagues who I haven't spoken in years, some people who I see maybe time to time, and we just say hello to each other and nothing else, and all of a sudden they approach me and they say, "Look, how can we help? It's horrible what's happening. We want to do something about it." So it's been really overwhelming, and I never imagined anything like that. Right now, people really see what's going on, and comparing to what was 8 years ago, right? 8 years ago, not so many people talked about it. 8 years ago, it was not so much in the news. It was not such a big story. But right now, everyone is talking about Ukraine, and people are very warm and very supportive.
Well, Pavel Gintov, thank you so much for your time, and we'll make sure to include any links that people need to have in order to contribute or to help in the description to this video. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you for keeping this story and for sharing this story with us today. And for everyone, thanks for watching. Thanks to everyone who supports this channel on Patreon. That's you're helping others, and therefore you're my heroes. You're watching Rashkin Report, and this was your